A 65-year-old millionaire man marries an obese woman on a dare and is surprised when Henry Vanderbilt, a 65-year-old millionaire, lived in a sprawling mansion in the suburbs of New York. His estate was a masterpiece, with marble-clad walls, a shimmering pool nestled in the garden, and a collection of classic cars that would make any enthusiast envious. But despite the luxury surrounding him, Henry found the house cold and empty. It had been over a decade since his beloved wife, Eleanor, had passed away. Eleanor had been more than a wife. She was his confidant, his anchor. Losing her had left a void that no amount of wealth could fill. Though Henry had tried to distract himself with business ventures and extravagant parties, nothing could soothe the ache of loneliness. As time passed, Henry grew into a gruff man with a penchant for sarcastic humor, occasionally bordering on arrogance. His wealthy friends, always eager for entertainment, frequently hosted grand gatherings and encouraged him to remarry. "A man like you shouldn't live in the past forever," they would insist, but Henry remained indifferent. He didn't believe that true love could find him a second time. Not far from Henry's luxurious estate, in a quiet suburb, Martha Johnson, a 38-year-old woman, started her morning at her modest bakery, Sweet Escape. The bakery was Martha's haven, a place where she poured her heart and soul into every creation. Martha was a full-figured woman, a fact that had made her a target of snide remarks and judgmental glances throughout her life. But she refused to let it dim her spirit. With a warm smile and a heart full of kindness, Martha treated everyone she met with genuine compassion. She worked tirelessly, not only to keep the bakery afloat but also to bring joy to her customers. Her baked goods weren't just delicious, they carried the warmth of her dedication. Regulars often said that eating Martha's treats felt like coming home, wrapped in a sense of comfort and love. Yet, beneath her cheerful exterior, Martha longed for a love that saw her for who she truly was. On quiet nights, she would sit alone in her small apartment, staring at the stars through her window, wondering if anyone in the world could appreciate the beauty she carried inside. One crisp autumn evening, Henry attended an opulent party hosted by his longtime friend Roger. The penthouse venue sparkled with jazz music and the glow of crystal chandeliers. Glasses of expensive wine clinked against the backdrop of laughter and light-hearted conversation. Henry, holding a glass of whiskey, stood amidst a group of his wealthy peers. Their discussion, as usual, revolved around shallow topics, the latest cars, hefty investments, and, of course, beautiful women. "You really should consider remarrying," Henry, Roger said, clapping him on the shoulder. "A man like you shouldn't spend the rest of his life alone." Henry let out a dry laugh. "I don't think I need anyone else. Haven't I done just fine on my own these past years?" "Now you're just lying to yourself," Roger pressed, his eyes twinkling mischievously. "Or is it that you're too afraid to love again?" The group erupted into laughter, the whiskey fueling their boldness. Amid the revelry, one man spoke up with a sly grin. "If you're not interested in marrying for love, why not do something fun? I dare you to marry someone completely unexpected. Someone like..." "Co." The man paused, his eyes lighting up as he conjured the perfect idea. "Someone like Martha Johnson. She runs a little bakery in the suburbs. A full-figured, down-to-earth woman, not your type at all." The group burst into laughter, treating the suggestion as an amusing absurdity. Sensing an opportunity for mischief, Roger leaned in. "That's a challenge, Henry. Are you up for it?" "Shh." Henry, emboldened by the alcohol and the teasing, smirked. "I'm not afraid of anything. If you all want a good laugh, consider it done. Let's call it a distraction." With that, an impulsive decision was made, a decision none of them, including Henry, could have foreseen would alter his life forever. That night, back in the vast emptiness of his mansion, Henry lay awake in his sprawling bed. A strange unease gnawed at him, though he couldn't quite pinpoint why. On the surface, the dare seemed harmless, a way to pass the time. Yet, deep down, he felt a flicker of doubt. Pushing the feeling aside, he resolved to go through with it. After all, it was just a joke. But what Henry didn't realize was that his upcoming encounter with Martha wouldn't just change her life, it would redefine his own, forcing him to confront the man he had become and rediscover the true meaning of love and purpose. The next morning, Henry stood in front of his mirror, adjusting the cuffs of his tailored suit. Despite his outward confidence, there was a small flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. What exactly was he doing? The night before, spurred by the laughter of his friends and the haze of too much whiskey, it had all seemed like harmless fun. But now, as he prepared to step into the small bakery where Martha worked, the weight of his actions pressed down on him. "Just a bit of fun," he muttered to himself, brushing an invisible speck off his lapel. "Nothing serious." With that, he stepped into his luxury car and headed to Sweet Escape, the bakery that had become somewhat of a local gem in the suburban neighborhood. The warm aroma of freshly baked bread and sugar greeted Henry as he pushed open the door to the bakery. It was a sharp contrast to the cold, sterile environment of his usual haunts. Here the shelves were lined with perfectly iced cupcakes, rustic loaves of bread, and jars of homemade jam. A small bell above the door jingled as he entered, drawing the attention of the woman behind the counter. Martha looked up, her hands dusted with flour, and gave him a warm smile. "Good morning. Welcome to Sweet Escape. How can I help you?" Henry took a moment to study her. She was as his friends had described, full-figured, with a round, open face framed by auburn curls. But what they hadn't mentioned was the sparkle in her eyes or the genuine kindness in her voice. For a moment, Henry forgot why he was there. "I'm Henry," he said, clearing his throat and offering a polite smile. "I've heard good things about this place and thought I'd see for myself." "Well, you've come to the right spot," Martha said, brushing her hands on her apron. "Everything here is made fresh daily. Would you like to try something?" Henry scanned the display case, more out of habit than interest. "What would you recommend?" Martha's face lit up. "Our cinnamon rolls are a favorite. Or if you're in the mood for something savory, the cheddar scones are to die for." Henry chuckled, caught off guard by her enthusiasm. "I'll take a cinnamon roll, then." As Martha carefully placed the pastry in a small box, Henry found himself hesitating. He hadn't planned on chatting with her for long, just enough to make an introduction and set the wheels of the dare in motion. But something about her demeanor intrigued him. "So, do you run this place all on your own?" he asked, leaning casually against the counter. "I do," Martha replied, handing him the box. "It's a lot of work, but I love it. There's something special about baking. It's not just about the food, you know. It's about bringing people joy." Henry raised an eyebrow, genuinely curious despite himself. "Joy?" Martha nodded. "Food has a way of connecting people. It reminds them of home, of comfort. I like to think I'm not just baking bread, I'm baking memories." Her words lingered in the air, and for a moment, Henry didn't know how to respond. This wasn't the shallow, self-absorbed woman he'd expected. There was a depth to her that unsettled him, a sincerity that felt foreign in his world of pretense and superficiality. "Well," he said finally, "it seems like you found your calling." Martha smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. "And what about you, Mr. Vanderbilt? What brings you here?" Henry hesitated. He couldn't exactly tell her the truth. Instead, he put on his most charming smile. "Curiosity. And maybe a bit of hunger." Martha laughed. A soft, genuine sound that made Henry's chest tighten. For a brief moment he felt a pang of guilt, but he quickly pushed it aside. This was all part of the plan. Over the next few days, Henry returned to the bakery under the guise of being a loyal customer. Each visit, he made an effort to chat with Martha, gradually building a rapport. She was always friendly, always quick to offer a smile or a kind word. Her warmth was infectious, and Henry found himself lingering longer than he intended. It wasn't long before he decided to take the next step. One sunny afternoon, as Martha wiped down the counter, Henry cleared his throat to get her attention. "Martha," he began, "I've really enjoyed getting to know you these past few days. You have a way of making people feel at ease." Martha looked up, surprised but pleased by the compliment. "Thank you, Henry. That means a lot. Well," he continued, shifting slightly, "I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner with me sometime. Just the two of us." For a moment, Martha didn't respond. She stared at him, her expression a mixture of disbelief and hesitation. Men like Henry didn't usually take an interest in women like her. Was this a joke? A pity gesture? Or was he genuinely interested? I'm flattered," she said finally. "But why me? Surely you have plenty of other options." Henry smiled, leaning in slightly. "Because you're different, Martha. You're real. And that's rare." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. After a brief pause, she nodded. "All right, Henry, dinner it is." That evening, as Henry drove home, he couldn't shake the strange mix of emotions swirling inside him. On one hand, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had taken another step in completing the dare. But on the other hand, he couldn't ignore the growing respect and admiration he felt for Martha. She wasn't like the women he was used to. She was genuine, unpretentious, and unapologetically herself. For Martha, the invitation left her feeling conflicted. She was thrilled by the attention, but a small voice in the back of her mind whispered doubts. Why would a man like Henry be interested in her? Was she reading too much into his kindness? Yet, for the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope. Neither of them realized that this dinner would be the beginning of something far deeper and more transformative than either of them could have imagined. Henry thought he was in control of the game, but the sincerity of Martha's heart was about to turn his world upside down. As the weeks passed, Henry found himself spending more and more time at Sweet Escape. What had begun as a frivolous dare was evolving into something he couldn't quite define. Each visit he would sit at a small table by the window, sipping coffee, and watching Martha move through the bakery with an effortless grace. She greeted every customer with genuine warmth, her laughter a melody that filled the room. At first, Henry had only seen Martha as the subject of a joke, a simple pawn in a game crafted by his friends. But now, he was beginning to see her as something else entirely. One afternoon, as Henry lingered after the lunch rush, Martha brought over a slice of apple pie and placed it in front of him. "On the house," she said with a smile. Henry raised an eyebrow. "You trying to spoil me, Martha?" "Maybe," she replied, sitting down across from him. "Or maybe I just thought you could use something sweet to go with all those serious thoughts." Henry chuckled. "Am I that obvious?" Martha leaned back in her chair, studying him. "You've got this look sometimes like you're carrying the weight of the world. A man like you shouldn't have so many worries." Her words struck a chord. Henry hesitated before replying. "Let's just say I've lived long enough to know that money doesn't solve everything." Martha nodded, her expression thoughtful. "That's true. But it can help buy cinnamon rolls," she added with a playful grin. Henry laughed, genuinely amused. Touche! Their conversations often took this tone, light-hearted but tinged with depth. Martha had a way of making Henry feel seen, a way of cutting through his defenses without even trying. She shared stories about her life, growing up in a small town, learning to bake from her grandmother, and her dream of one day expanding the bakery. "Not because I want to get rich or anything," she explained one day. "I just want to reach more people, you know? Make them feel at home, even if just for a little while." Henry found himself drawn to her sincerity. She didn't want wealth or power, she wanted connection. It was a stark contrast to the shallow ambitions of the people he usually surrounded himself with. For the first time in years, Henry began to question his own life choices. As their interactions deepened, Martha couldn't ignore the growing unease in the back of her mind. Why was a wealthy, sophisticated man like Henry Vanderbilt spending so much time with her? One evening, as they sat on a park bench after a dinner date, Martha decided to voice her thoughts. "Henry," she began hesitantly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, turning to face her. "Why me?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, look at you," she said, gesturing toward him. "You're a millionaire. You could be with anyone you want. Why are you here, spending time with someone like me?" Henry's heart skipped a beat. For a moment he was at a loss for words. How could he explain the dare without shattering the fragile bond they had built? "I'm here because I want to be," he said finally, his voice steady. "You're unlike anyone I've ever met, Martha. You're kind, genuine, and real. That's rare in my world." Martha searched his eyes for any sign of insincerity. She wanted to believe him, but a small part of her still held on to doubt. "All right," she said softly. "But I hope you're being honest with me, Henry. I don't think I could handle it if you weren't." Her words stayed with him long after he dropped her off that night. The guilt that had been simmering beneath the surface was now impossible to ignore. Despite his inner turmoil, Henry continued to pursue Martha. He found himself craving her company, her laughter, and the way she made him feel like more than just a wealthy old man. But as his feelings for her grew, so did the pressure to follow through with the dare. One evening, as they strolled through the city after another dinner, Henry made a decision that would change everything. "Martha," he said, stopping to face her. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Yes?" "I've been thinking a lot about us," he began, his voice uncharacteristically nervous. "And I realize that I don't want this, whatever this is, to end." Martha tilted her head, confused. "What are you saying, Henry?" He took a deep breath. I'm saying I want to marry you." Martha's eyes widened in shock. "Marry me?" "Yes," he said, taking her hands in his. "I know it's sudden, but I feel like we have something special. I don't want to waste any more time." For a moment, Martha was speechless. She had always dreamed of finding love, but she had never expected a proposal like this, so sudden, so grand. "Henry, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he urged, his heart pounding. Martha hesitated, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to say yes, to believe that this was real. But another part of her couldn't shake the lingering doubts. "Let me think about it," she said finally. Henry nodded, hiding his disappointment. "Take all the time you need." That night, as Henry returned to his empty mansion, he was overcome with conflicting emotions. The dare had been a game, a harmless joke, but now it was so much more. He didn't just want to win the bet, he wanted Martha. Martha, meanwhile, lay awake in her small apartment, her heart torn between hope and fear. She wanted to believe in Henry's sincerity, but the voice of doubt was louder than ever. Neither of them knew that their next steps would lead to a turning point that would challenge everything they thought they knew about love, trust, and themselves. It was a crisp autumn evening, and Henry had invited Martha to a lavish party hosted by one of his wealthy friends. The grand estate was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of live jazz music. Martha had hesitated at first, feeling out of place among the elite crowd, but Henry had reassured her. "You're with me," he had said, squeezing her hand. "That's all that matters." Dressed in an elegant navy blue gown Henry had insisted on buying for her, Martha couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and unease as they entered the glittering ballroom. She stayed close to Henry, her arm tucked in his, trying to navigate the sea of strangers who cast curious glances her way. As the evening progressed, Henry stepped away briefly to speak with the host, leaving Martha near the buffet table. She busied herself studying the ornate decor, hoping to blend into the background. That's when she heard them. Two men standing a few feet away, holding glasses of champagne, were laughing quietly. Their conversation drifted toward her like an unwelcome breeze. "Can you believe he actually went through with it?" one of them said, smirking. "I know," the other replied. "Marrying her? I mean, look at her. All this just to win a stupid dare." Martha froze, her breath catching in her throat. "Typical Henry, though," the first man continued, shaking his head. "Always taking things too far. But hey, it's entertaining for the rest of us." Their laughter felt like daggers, slicing through the fragile confidence Martha had built over the past few weeks. Her vision blurred as tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't need to hear more, she had already heard enough. Clutching her clutch tightly, she turned and walked briskly toward the exit, her heart pounding in her chest. Henry spotted her retreating figure and quickly excused himself, weaving through the crowd to catch up with her. "Martha," he called, his voice tinged with alarm. She didn't stop. Only when she reached the quiet gardens outside did she turn to face him, her expression a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "Is it true?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Henry frowned, confused. "What are you talking about?" She took a shaky breath. "Your friends. I heard them. They said you were only marrying me because of some dare." The color drained from Henry's face. "Martha, Just tell me the truth," she interrupted, her voice rising. "Was this all a game to you? Am I just some joke you and your friends cooked up for entertainment?" Henry opened his mouth, then closed it, the weight of her accusation settling heavily on his shoulders. He looked down, ashamed. At first he admitted quietly it was a dare. Martha let out a bitter laugh, tears streaming down her face. "I knew it. I knew this was too good to be true. But it's not what you think," Henry said quickly, stepping closer. "Yes, it started as a stupid bet, but that's not why I'm here now. That's not why I asked you to marry me." She shook her head, taking a step back. "How can I believe anything you say? You lied to me, Henry. You made me believe you cared about me when all along I was just some part of your little game." Henry's chest tightened. "Martha, please. I know I messed up, but my feelings for you are real. You've changed me in ways I didn't think were possible. You've made me see the world differently, made me see myself differently." Martha's lips quivered as she looked at him, searching his eyes for any trace of sincerity. "If you cared about me, you wouldn't have lied to me," she said softly. Henry reached out, his voice desperate. "Martha, don't go. Please. Let me prove to you that this is real." But Martha shook her head, her tears falling freely now. "I can't do this, Henry. I deserve someone who sees me for who I am, not as part of some sick joke." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Henry standing alone in the garden, his heart heavy with regret. For the first time in years, Henry felt the sting of true loss. He had thought he could control everything in his life, but Martha had unraveled that illusion. She wasn't just part of a game. She had become someone he deeply cared about, someone he couldn't bear to lose. As he watched her disappear into the night, Henry realized that his actions had consequences far beyond what he had anticipated. The dare had been a catalyst, but it was his own choices that had driven her away. And now, he was left to grapple with the reality of his mistakes, and the question of whether he could ever earn back her trust. The days after Martha walked away were the loneliest of Henry's life. The emptiness of his sprawling mansion seemed to echo louder with each passing hour. For the first time, Henry felt the full weight of his choices, and he realized how deeply he had hurt Martha. It wasn't just guilt that consumed him, it was love. Genuine, undeniable love. The kind that made him want to be better not for himself, but for her. He thought of her warmth, her laughter, and the way she saw the beauty in life despite its challenges. He had spent years searching for meaning, only to find it in the person he had so carelessly pushed away. That night, as he sat alone in his study, Henry made a decision he would change, not through empty promises or grand gestures, but through actions that proved his sincerity. The next morning, Henry drove to Sweet Escape. As he entered the familiar bakery, the bell above the door jingled softly. The sight of Martha behind the counter made his heart ache. She looked up, her smile fading when she saw him. "Henry," she said, her tone guarded. "What are you doing here?" I came to apologize," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "And to make things right." "There's nothing to make right," Martha replied, turning back to arrange a tray of muffins. "You got what you wanted, didn't you? The dare is over. You can move on now." Henry stepped closer, his expression earnest. "I don't care about the dare anymore. I care about you, Martha. I care about us." Martha froze, her hands tightening on the tray. "It's too late, Henry," she said softly. "I can't trust you." "I know," Henry admitted, "but I'm asking for a chance to prove that I'm not the man I was." "Please, let me show you." Over the next few weeks, Henry began showing up at the bakery every morning. At first, Martha tried to ignore him, but he was persistent. He didn't just sit idly. He rolled up his sleeves and offered to help. "You don't know the first thing about baking," she said one day, watching him fumble with a rolling pin. "Then teach me," he replied, his smile lopsided but genuine. "I want to learn." Reluctantly, Martha began showing him the basics, though she kept her guard up. Henry's early attempts were clumsy. He spilled flour everywhere, overcooked cookies, and once even managed to drop an entire tray of cupcakes. But he never gave up, and slowly he improved. One day, as they worked side by side kneading dough, Martha couldn't help but ask, "Why are you doing this, Henry? You don't belong here." "I'm doing this because I want to understand you," he said simply. "Your world, your passion, your kindness, it's what drew me to you, and it's what I want to be part of." Martha didn't respond, but for the first time she felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, he was being honest. Henry's transformation didn't stop at the bakery. Inspired by Martha's selflessness, he began reevaluating his life. He sold off his collection of luxury cars, using the proceeds to fund a program that provided meals to low-income families. He joined local volunteer efforts, rolling up his sleeves and working alongside others to distribute food and supplies. When asked why he was doing it, Henry would simply say, "Because I've been given so much, and it's time I gave back." Word of his efforts began to spread, and even Martha couldn't ignore the changes he was making. Customers at the bakery often spoke about seeing Henry at food drives or helping out at shelters. "He's different now," one elderly customer remarked to Martha one morning. "Whatever he's doing, it's coming from the heart." One rainy afternoon, as the bakery closed for the day, Henry lingered by the door. Martha sighed, knowing he had something to say. "I made this for you," he said, holding out a slightly lopsided apple pie. Martha raised an eyebrow, taking the pie from him. "You baked this?" With a lot of help from the recipe, he admitted, his cheeks reddening. "But yes, I wanted to make something for you, to show you how much I appreciate everything you've taught me." Martha stared at the pie, then at Henry. For the first time in weeks, she saw not the man who had hurt her, but the man who was trying, earnestly and humbly, to make amends. "You're really not giving up, are you?" she asked, her voice soft. "Not on you," Henry said firmly. "Not ever." Though she was still cautious, Martha couldn't deny that Henry's actions spoke louder than words. He had stepped out of his privileged world to immerse himself in hers, learning and giving without expecting anything in return. One evening, as they closed up the bakery, Martha finally turned to him and said, Maybe we can start over. As friends." Henry smiled, his heart lifting. "I'd like that." It wasn't the resolution he had hoped for, but it was a start, a chance to rebuild what he had broken. And for Henry, that was more than enough. Months had passed since Henry first started showing up at Sweet Escape. Despite her initial resistance, Martha had slowly allowed him back into her life. Their friendship grew stronger with each passing day, but Henry knew that it wasn't enough. He wanted to prove to Martha that she was more than a dare, more than a momentary gesture of redemption. She was the person who had reignited his capacity to love and live meaningfully. So Henry decided to do something extraordinary. Henry spent weeks preparing, pouring his heart into every detail. With the help of Sophia, one of Martha's closest friends and a loyal bakery customer, he secretly reached out to those who knew and cared for Martha, her neighbors, her childhood friends, and even a few of her regular customers. His plan was simple: to organize an intimate celebration that would honor the person Martha was and show her just how much she was loved. The location? Where it all began, Sweet Escape. On the morning of the event, Henry arrived early to help decorate the bakery. Balloons, fairy lights, and bouquets of Martha's favorite flowers transformed the cozy shop into a magical space. He even commissioned a local artist to create a painting of the bakery, with Martha smiling behind the counter, capturing her essence. When everything was ready, he stood back and surveyed the room. It wasn't just a surprise party, it was a declaration of his love and gratitude. Martha had no idea what was waiting for her. After closing the bakery for the evening, she was surprised when Sophia arrived, insisting that she come back inside. "What's going on?" Martha asked, suspicious but intrigued. "Just trust me," Sophia replied with a mischievous grin. As they stepped inside, Martha froze. The room was filled with familiar faces, all beaming at her. "Surprise!" they shouted in unison. Tears welled up in Martha's eyes as she took in the scene. The bakery was transformed, glowing with warmth and love. In the center of the room stood Henry, holding a microphone, looking both nervous and determined. What is this?" Martha asked, her voice trembling. Henry stepped forward, his heart pounding. "This," he said, "is for you, Martha, for everything you've done, not just for me, but for everyone here." Taking a deep breath, Henry addressed the room. "When I first met Martha," he began, his voice steady, "I didn't deserve to know someone like her. I was selfish, careless, and frankly, blind to what really matters in life. She was supposed to be part of a joke, a meaningless dare." Gasps rippled through the room, but Henry continued, his eyes locked on Martha's. "But what I didn't realize was that Martha would change my life. She showed me what kindness looks like, what strength truly means. She made me see the world through her eyes, full of love, hope, and generosity. And for that, I will always be grateful." He stepped closer to her, his voice softening. "Martha, I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that every moment we've spent together since that terrible mistake has been real. I love you, not because of who I thought you were, but because of who you are. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you." The room was silent, all eyes on Martha as tears streamed down her face. For a long moment, Martha didn't speak. Her heart was racing, torn between the pain of the past and the undeniable sincerity in Henry's words. She looked around the room, seeing the people who had come together because of him, feeling the warmth of their support. Finally, she stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Henry, what you did hurt me more than I can put into words. I've spent my whole life being overlooked, judged, and treated as less than. And when I found out that I was just a part of a joke, it broke something inside me." Henry's shoulders sagged, guilt etched into his face. "But," she continued, her voice growing steadier, "I've also seen how much you've changed. You didn't just say you were sorry, you showed it. Every day, in every action. You've proven that you're not the man who made that mistake anymore." She paused, her eyes searching his. "And while it's hard for me to trust again, I think you're worth the risk." A ripple of relief and joy washed over Henry as Martha smiled through her tears. "Does that mean," he began, his voice breaking slightly. "It means I'll give us a chance," she said, taking his hands in hers. The room erupted in applause as Henry and Martha embraced. It wasn't just a celebration of their relationship, it was a testament to the power of growth, forgiveness, and second chances. As the evening continued, laughter and love filled the bakery. Martha's friends shared stories about her kindness and resilience, while Henry stood by her side, beaming with pride. Later that night, as they stood outside under the stars, Martha looked up at Henry and said, "You know, this doesn't mean I'll go easy on you in the kitchen." Henry laughed, his heart feeling lighter than it had in years. "I wouldn't have it any other way." In that moment, Martha realized something important. Love isn't about perfection or fairy tales. It's about choosing to trust, to forgive, and to build something real together. And for Henry, this wasn't the end of a journey. It was the beginning of a life filled with purpose, guided by the love of the woman who had taught him what it truly meant to live. Henry and Martha's wedding was nothing like the lavish ceremonies Henry's world was accustomed to. It wasn't held in a grand ballroom or an exotic destination, but in the backyard of Sweet Escape. Surrounded by close friends, family, and loyal customers, the couple exchanged vows under a canopy of twinkling fairy lights and the warm glow of the evening sun. Martha wore a simple, elegant dress, her radiant smile brighter than any diamond could ever be. Henry, in a classic suit, looked at her with an expression that spoke volumes of the transformation he had undergone. Gone was the man who once saw life as a series of transactions. Standing there now was a man deeply in love, humbled by the journey that had brought him to this moment. As they said, "I do," a wave of cheers and applause swept through the crowd. For Martha, it was a moment of vindication, proof that love, when genuine, could surpass any hurt or doubt. For Henry, it was a second chance, not just at love but at life itself. After the wedding, Henry and Martha set about creating a life that reflected the values they now shared. They turned Sweet Escape into more than just a bakery. It became a community hub, a place where people could come not only for delicious treats, but also for connection and support. Henry used his resources to expand the bakery into a non-profit initiative, providing free baking classes for underprivileged youth and employing those in need of a second chance. Inspired by Martha's philosophy of spreading joy through food, they started a pay-what-you-can program, ensuring that no one would go hungry, regardless of their financial situation. Martha's warmth and Henry's determination created a partnership that was both practical and profound. Together they worked tirelessly to bring hope and kindness to others. For Henry, this new chapter of life was a stark contrast to his past. No longer focused on material wealth or the superficial relationships that once defined his world, he found fulfillment in the simple joys of everyday life. He learned to savor the moments that truly mattered, sharing a laugh with Martha over a batch of misfired cookies, seeing the excitement on a child's face during a baking class, or watching the sunrise together on quiet mornings. Martha, too, experienced a transformation. For the first time she felt truly seen and valued, not for how she looked or what she could provide, but for who she was. With Henry by her side, she grew more confident in herself and her dreams. Together they were a team, building each other up, challenging each other to be better, and creating a life filled with love and purpose. Their story began to inspire others. Local newspapers ran articles about the millionaire and the baker who had turned a chance encounter into a beautiful partnership. But Henry and Martha didn't care about the attention. For them, their work was about making a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. They also became mentors, sharing their story with others who struggled to believe in love or themselves. Their honesty about the trials they had faced, the mistakes, the doubts, the pain, made their journey all the more relatable and inspiring. "It's not about how you start," Henry often said. "It's about where you choose to go from there." One crisp autumn morning, Henry and Martha stood outside Sweet Escape, hand in hand. The bakery was bustling as usual, with customers coming and going, laughter and conversation filling the air. "Remember when all of this was just a dream?" Martha asked, her voice soft. Henry squeezed her hand gently. "I remember when I almost ruined it all," he said. "But you gave me a chance to make things right. I'll never stop being grateful for that." Martha smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "And I'll never stop being grateful for you, for seeing past everything and choosing me." As the morning sun bathed them in golden light, they stood there together, a symbol of what love could achieve. It wasn't about perfection or fairy tale endings. It was about growth, forgiveness, and the courage to embrace the beauty of imperfection. Henry and Martha's story serves as a powerful reminder that love isn't defined by appearances, wealth, or grand gestures. It's built on understanding, honesty, and the willingness to change for the better. Their journey shows that even the most broken beginnings can lead to extraordinary endings when met with humility and sincerity. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches us that true beauty lies not in how the world sees us, but in how we choose to see ourselves and others. The final scene is one of joy and quiet fulfillment. Henry and Martha, standing in front of their bakery, greeting customers with smiles that radiate warmth and kindness. Behind them, the sign reads, "We'd escape, where love and second chances rise every day." And as the camera fades out, their laughter lingers, a testament to the love they fought for and the life they built together. A life where second chances flourished and happiness was found in the simplest of things. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of love, redemption, and transformation. Henry and Martha's story is a beautiful reminder that love isn't about appearances or wealth, it's about sincerity, growth, and the courage to embrace second chances. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us of the beauty of the human spirit. Until next time, remember, true love always finds a way.